As of the posting of this video, you have exactly 1 weekend left to see me as Samwise Gamgee in Magic Smoking Monkey Theater's 1-hour Lord of the Rings trilogy, playing through August the 17th at the Lift for Life Academy in Soulard. Link to show information will be in the description. And now, time for Fiddler on the Roof. Shalom! Welcome to Jack Reviews Musicals. If this is your first time seeing my face, hi! My name is Jack, and I am a musical theater superfan based in St. Louis, Missouri. This right here is my YouTube channel, where I share my thoughts on all of the musical productions I go out to see. In this video, I am going to be talking about the 4th production in the Muny's 106th season, Fiddler on the Roof, which played July 19th through the 25th of 2024. This year marks Fiddler on the Roof's 60th anniversary, and this current production from the Muny is their 11th, having kept the show in their regular repertory since 1970. Fiddler on the Roof is really one of those shows that doesn't really need any introduction, or really any justification as to why anybody should go and see a production of it. Though I do want to start this review off by talking about something that a lot of musical theater fans tend to forget, and this is something that I learned going into this production. This is my second time seeing Fiddler on the Roof live, and Mike Isaacson, the artistic director and executive producer of the Muny, used his notes right here to actually recount the show's very troubled history. The original Broadway production of Fiddler on the Roof was put together by 3 legendary Jewish American theater artists. The first is producer Hal Prince, the second, director and choreographer Jerome Robbins, and the third, leading man, comedian Zero Mostel. And all 3 of these men hated each other's guts. Or, more specifically, Hal Prince and Zero Mostel hated Jerome Robbins. Robbins was coming off the heels of testifying before the House Un-American Activities Committee, where he hid the fact that he was a Jewish homosexual in order to name names of several members of the Communist Party in the American entertainment industry, thus ruining a whole bunch of artists' careers. So on top of that deep-seated resentment, Robbins was a taskmaster. He was very abusive towards the cast and crew, and he would drive them up a damn wall trying to justify his constantly changing vision for the material. He would make like 10 changes a day every day for the entire rehearsal process, to the point that the final show ran for over 3 hours, which in 1964 was long, even back then. And as for the material itself, the score consisted of traditional klezmer music, which was composed by Jerry Bach and Sheldon Harnick. And the book by Joseph Stein was an adaptation of Russian Jewish folk tales by the author Sholem Aleichem. This was a very bold show to put on at the time. Nobody heard of a story or heard of a score that was like this in the media in general. So, Fiddler on the Roof's classic status wasn't really at all guaranteed. It was very much a passion project that everybody involved risked everything for. And the risks paid off. For context, Fiddler on the Roof premiered in 1964, coming off of the heels of the golden age of musical theater that was kickstarted by Rodgers and Hammerstein when they wrote Oklahoma. But then, after Oscar Hammerstein II's death, the golden age started petering off. And so, with Fiddler's, boldness of its material, it pretty much launched musical theater as an art form into the modern era. And it ended up sweeping the Tony Awards in 1965, being nominated for 10 awards and winning 9, including Best Musical. Fiddler on the Roof became the first musical in Broadway history to run over 3,000 performances. It even held the title for longest-running musical for 10 years, until Grease came along, and then a chorus line after that. In 1971, Fiddler on the Roof was adapted into a critically acclaimed feature film. It became a hit in the Yiddish theater and all over the world, continuing to be revived on Broadway regularly. And there are hundreds of productions being mounted every year. Now, Fiddler on the Roof is considered a classic nowadays, but the reason why I would consider it very bold is because of the structure of its story. Fiddler on the Roof takes place in 1905 in Anatevka, which is a very poor, very run-down Jewish Ukrainian shtetl. We learn pretty quickly that Anatevka is on the verge of pretty much being destroyed by the pogroms of the Russian Empire, because this is pre-revolutionary Russia we're talking about here. And because Anatevka is so poor, they have had very little outside support, like they are literally hanging on by a thread. The analogy that the people of Anatevka use to describe their lives is as a fiddler on the roof, trying to stay positive even though they are standing on very shaky ground. The only thing that gives the people of Anatevka some semblance of control over their lives is their traditions, their customs, which are deeply rooted in their Jewish faith. All of this is explained to us by our narrator and protagonist, Tevye, Anatevka's resident dairy farmer, and the father of 5 daughters. Out of the 5, 3 are teenagers on the cusp of adulthood: Shtetl, Hodl, and Hava. At the start of the show, we find that Anatevka's resident matchmaker, Yentl, has found a potential husband for Shtetl, the wealthy butcher, Laser Wolf, a man older than Tevye. And in Anatevka, since the patriarch of the family is the one who arranges the marriages for their family, Tevye agrees to let Shtetl and Laser Wolf marry each other. But then, a breakthrough occurs. Shtetl makes it known to Tevye she does not love Laser Wolf. She actually made a pledge since childhood that she was going to marry the resident tailor, Motel Kamzoil. Now, at first, Tevye is, of course, outraged that Shtetl and Motel are breaking tradition, but eventually he relents because he realizes just how much Shtetl and Motel are truly happy together. But then, when Shtetl and Motel get married, Hodl and Hava follow suit. Hodl falls in love and marries a man named Perchik, who is a teacher that was converted to Marxism, incorporating his beliefs into his teachings, leading the village to label Perchik as a radical. Now, instead of asking Tevye for his permission to marry, Hodl and Perchik only ask for his blessing, because given that Perchik is a Marxist, they have no idea what's going to happen if their marriage is public knowledge. And finally, we have Hava, who falls in love and marries Fiedka, who is a Russian soldier occupying Anatevka, who is sympathetic to the village but is powerless to stop the imperial pogroms that are inevitably going to happen. To the point that they have a runaway marriage. Marrying outside of the Jewish faith is unacceptable in Anatevka. And now, as they run away in exile, Tevye is totally left behind. Tevye ends up with a highly shifted worldview, as Anatevka is very suddenly changed forever. Tevye spends the show basically questioning everything, questioning his faith, questioning his community, questioning his marriage, and struggling to adapt to a world that is increasingly not being really made for him. The kind of people who value the old ways that they have grown accustomed to far too much, living in a world where those old ways are increasingly becoming arbitrary. And it all culminates together in what is quite possibly one of the saddest endings in the musical theater canon. Okay, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. The first and last time that I saw Fiddler on the Roof was the Muny's production back in 2016. That production I took my father and my sister to see, and they hated me for having subjected them to the ending. And again, when comparing this production to the new production is far superior, not reinventing the wheel there. But if you have seen any other video review on my channel, you would probably know that I am one of those critics that always finds something about a production to pick apart. Either one or multiple elements of the material or the production that I did not find very satisfying. Now, as a critic, and, just a musical theater superfan in general, I consider it a responsibility to promote artistic and intelligent musical theater. And most of the time, that means finding productions, or even just little nits in them, that don't necessarily make the grade. Things that prevented from being a completely fulfilling experience. But with the Muny's 2024 production of Fiddler on the Roof, I can't do it. This is one of those productions that is, without a shadow of a doubt, 100% perfect in every way. I have seen about 130 unique live musicals. Over 50 of them I've done reviews for. And this is very easily one of the top 5 best productions that I have ever had to review for Jack Reviews Musicals. Every single one of the songs by Jerry Bach and Sheldon Harnick is a memorable earworm. Songs like Tradition, Matchmaker, If I Were a Rich Man, To Life, Miracle of Miracles, Sunrise, Sunset. All of these songs, they're timeless, they're deftly written, they totally nail the sound of traditional Jewish klezmer music. And the book by Joseph Stein is brilliant. The characters are fully developed, fully three-dimensional, very well drawn. The plot is engagingly structured with no fat, no filler, no nonsense that drags it down. The dialogue is realistic and genuinely heartfelt with no trace of cynicism or anachronism. Even though the show is 3 hours long, you are completely invested in it all the way through. You do not feel the clock running as the show moves. And it's also a story that's timeless, and it's particularly timely now with the rise of tyranny, oppression, and anti-Semitism across the globe. The Muny's production is helmed by director Rob Ruggiero, who is one of my favorite local musical theater directors in St. Louis. And he amassed an amazing team of artists at the top of their game to bring this musical to life. Ruggiero's staging really gives this Fiddler a vigorousness, an urgency, and a realism that even though it is 60 years old, it still feels totally fresh and totally new, like it could have been written yesterday. And it's actually really remarkable considering that a good chunk of the staging is recreating the original production by Jerome Robbins. And despite that, it never feels quaint, as a lot of older musicals tend to be. They even recreated Robbins's choreography. It was adapted for the Muny stage by Parker Essie. And much like the blocking, it's very seamless. Like, they recreate everything. The circle of villagers that fill the stage during both Tradition and the Exodus. The tavern dance in To Life. The bottle dance in Zeitel and Mottel's wedding. And even the ballet sequence in Havala. All of these dances were perfectly executed, and they were simply breathtaking. The musical direction by Daryl Archibald? Top-notch. Archibald conducts the Muny Orchestra and the actors on stage through this unforgettable score with a sweeping lusciousness and a lyrical quality that really makes you feel connected with this village. And this village is totally grounded by Tevye, played by Adam Heller, in a truly revelatory performance. Tevye is a character that it would have been so easy to just turn into this stereotypical, overbearing Jewish parent, but that's really not the case. Adam Heller gives Tevye this intelligence and thoughtfulness that makes you see how devout he is, but at the same time makes you see his internal conflict when he sees his worldview and traditions become shifted or even outright shattered. Adam Heller really makes Tevye a fully three-dimensional character. He's warm, he's very jolly, and even very kind. But he's also a devoted father and husband, and he's very matter-of-fact about his beliefs, but he is also very world-weary. It is quite a tour de force performance, and it draws you into the show from the very beginning, and he never lets you go. Jill Abramovitz plays Golda, Tevye's wife of 25 years, who provides a very nice compliment to Tevye's character. Golda has a very hardworking, very no-nonsense practicality that is a great comic foil to Tevye, and Jill Abramovitz nails it here. But Abramovitz also portrays a vulnerability within Golda. And throughout the course of the show, her vulnerability becomes clearer to the audience more and more, eventually to the point that she completely breaks down. It was a very convincing arc that felt very genuine and depthful. Tevye and Golda's eldest daughters, along with their suitors, all gave fantastic performances. They were very convincing couples with beautiful chemistry, with songs like Matchmaker, Miracle of Miracles, Far From the Home I Love. All of these actors do an amazing job of switching between all kinds of different emotions, from courage to idealism to romanticism, and even all the way down to pure and utter pain and anguish. They were really layered performances. The couples were all played by Samantha Massel and Max Chernin as Zeitel and Motel, Hannah Corneau and Clay Singer as Hodel and Perchik, and Emerson Glick and Andrew Allstadt as Hava and Fietka. The ensemble that forms the community of Anatevka, as well as the Russian soldiers that are occupying it, are also incredible. They feel like an authentic community through and through. They're witty, they're gruff, they're heartfelt. It's a totally cohesive ensemble. The standout performances are Jeremy Radin as Laserwolf, Cheryl Stern as Yenta, Jim Butts as the Russian constable, Bob Amaral as the rabbi, and Max Chucker as the titular Fiddler on the Roof, a dancer who becomes a very important symbol to Tevye as he moves along in the story. The Fiddler himself starts the show atop of house, on the frontmost stage left side, part of a set designed by Tijana Bielizak. The set actually has an interesting motif where the stage is flanked by a series of very ramshackle-looking wooden houses that ascend up towards the back of the stage, creating sort of a forced perspective effect. It both indicates Anatevka's sheer size and also its very bare bones structural integrity. Bielizak also created versatile set pieces that switch between Tevye's house, the tavern, the train station, all with that same wooden, run-down motif. And the set design is augmented by video projections designed by Kevin Loney. Loney's work utilizes a painterly aesthetic that conveys the vastness of the Ukrainian countryside. There's even a fun sequence called Tevye's Dream, where Tevye lies to Golda about having a nightmare telling him to call off Zeitel and Laser Wolf's marriage. There's a spectral graveyard, a tornado of ghosts, and really weird close-ups of Laser Wolf's dead wife, who is played from the ensemble by Blair Goldberg. The costumes by Alejo Vietti and hair and makeup by Tommy Kurzman are also quite excellent. Contributing to the aesthetic of this very poor peasant village, while also adding enough unique details that when you are looking at the show, you are able to tell the characters apart. It's really quite a masterclass in how to tell a story and character through costume. Outside of the set, I think the strongest visual element of this production is the lighting design by John Lasseter. Not that John Lasseter, it's a different spelling. There are very crucial lighting moments in this show that really elevate the production to be truly outstanding. Whenever Tevye is confronted by his daughter's breaking of tradition to marry for love, the entire stage turns purple in a freeze frame as Tevye talks directly to the audience, rationalizing his innermost thoughts to us, basically spilling his guts out onto the stage. It was a really cool effect. And another really moving number was the Sabbath prayer. All of the houses on the set have candles lit inside of them that activate when the number begins. As Anatevka observes the Sabbath, all of the houses literally glow. It's a number that really allows you to just sit still and soak in the atmosphere of this peasant village observing their faith. It's really quite beautiful. And that is one of the things that makes the Muny's production of Fiddler on the Roof a true gem. Literally everything about this production works. Everything is a perfect match. The material, the venue, the director, the cast, the music, the dancing, the visuals, the atmosphere, all of it is beautiful. And altogether, it creates an experience that I would say is more timely now than it was when it was first created. In short, the Muny's Fiddler on the Roof is spectacular. This is a production that people are going to be talking about for a very long time. So, did you see it? What did you think about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, you can shuffle and shimmy on over to my website, jackreviewsmusicals.com. All of my reviews are there, including written reviews that I have published since the start of 2022. And you have exactly 1 weekend left to come and see me as Samwise Gamgee in Magic Smoking Monkey Theater's 1-hour Lord of the Rings parody, playing through the 17th at the Lift for Life Academy in Soulard. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more St. Louis musical theater reviews coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, long live the musical! L'chaim!